Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Food Freedom Podcast. I am Coach Mary and I am your host. And today we're diving into something that, it really touches all of us on this journey, and that is emotional eating. And in my Food Freedom course, on day 29, the lesson is it's an extension of what has already been taught about emotional eating. And so it's more about emotional eating. And I want to kind of take the information from that lesson and turn it into a podcast today. So my Food Freedom course is all about learning how to break the cycle, deal with those moments when, food becomes a comfort instead of nourishment. It covers a whole gamut of topics. But let's be honest, emotional eating is a big one for all of us. And it's been a go-to for so many of us when our life gets overwhelming. It offers quick relief from stress, sadness, anger, even boredom. And the truth is, it hasn't worked so well for us. In fact, I don't think emotional eating ever worked out for me. So how do we stop listening to Ed, the voice of the eating disorder, the voice of sabotage, and start listening to the truth? Well, first, we have to look inward. We have to draw from the strength that we've already shown by making it this far. And we have to remember what we've learned and not forget how far we've already come. So when this voice starts whispering lies like, when Ed says things like, you deserve this, or this will make you feel better, we got to pause. We pause, we identify the danger zone we're in. We have to ask what's going on or around me or within me that's making Ed speak louder. Because we know that if we are hearing Ed speak, we are in a danger zone. That's a given. Ed doesn't speak unless we're in a danger zone. So we got to identify that danger zone, and then we can hear what Ed is saying. And then after we identify what Ed is saying, our job is literally to respond, and responding out loud is the best. And we have to respond with truth. We have to speak the truth out loud and literally say it. So when Ed says, oh, you deserve this, this will make you feel better, we have to say something like, hey, Ed, that's a lie. Food isn't going to fix this. I want peace, not sabotage. And the act of truth-telling is literally how we start shutting down Ed in those moments, in those danger zones, so that we can make it out of those danger zones and stay food sober. And yes, it takes practice. You're going to have to do it again and again and again and again, but I promise you it's worth it. Repeating those steps will give you what you really want, and that's peace with food, food freedom, and a life of food sobriety where not every day is, feels like World War III going on in our brain when it comes to eating decisions. So here's something important that you need to know. Emotional eating usually happens when we aren't even really hungry. It's because we're trying to get something else from the food: comfort, distraction, numbing, entertainment. But food is meant for nourishment and energy. That's it. And I know a lot of people like to push back on that point. Well, no, because, the world makes food social. And yes, we use food in social situations. It's a way that people connect sitting around the table, but it's still not about the food. It's about those connections, those relationships with people. So don't get it twisted. Food is for nourishment and energy, and it's sometimes it's a vehicle for building connection and relationships. It doesn't change the fact of what it's meant for. So one of the most common lies that Ed tells, besides we have the lie of moderation. We know that's the big lie. But another really common one is when Ed tells us, you deserve this. And, I battled this one myself for many years, and I hear it very frequently from my clients. They'll tell me, oh, I was doing so good, I just thought I deserved a little treat. But let's dig a little deeper on that. What do we really deserve? We do deserve good things. We deserve to feel good. And the truth is, eating something that harms us doesn't make us feel good. it just feels familiar. It's what we've always done. And feel that having that familiar feeling isn't the same as being safe. It's not the same as peace. And so we have to ask ourselves, like when we have a drug food in front of us and we know that this drug food does terrible things when we eat it, and then we use the language, you deserve this, I deserve this. What are we really saying we deserve? The consequence of that so-called treat that isn't a treat? A treat has to be something that results in a positive outcome, right? So if we were to eat this particular drug food and it has a negative outcome, how does that make it a treat for us? And what does that say about what we really feel we deserve if we're accepting that when we eat this thing that we supposedly deserve, we have it has a negative impact on us. We deserve that negative impact. That's kind of deep for some people. So, but just something for you to think about. So our nervous system gets stuck in this fight, flight, freeze loop when we are emotionally triggered. And that's why we reach for food. It's our way of trying to soothe ourselves. But there are other ways that we can find soothing in ways that don't involve self-sabotage, in ways that don't involve food. We don't need food to soothe. So I want to ask you a question. Think about, what do you really need? In those situations where you're looking for soothing, what do you really need? Identify it, then go fill that need in a way that supports your recovery. We've got to find our real needs and fill them, because only then do we stop using food for something it's not intended to do. A lot of us were taught that, food is how you deal with pain and discomfort. And we learned that like at a young age. It's all innocent enough in our childhood. People offer us, food as comfort, as reward, as entertainment. And, we're taught, a lot of us, like growing up, we weren't like allowed to like show our emotions, and so we stuff things. And so the food is a way of stuffing things down as not to show emotions, but it's okay for us to show our emotions. It might not always be safe in certain homes or around certain people, but that doesn't mean it's not okay. It just means that, we're in a situation where it might not feel safe to do so. So anyway, let yourself feel your feelings and then do your best to move through them unencumbered by things that are going to squash them down. Allow yourself to feel your feelings. And here is a suggestion for you journalers out there, and even for you non-journalers. I want you to answer the question for yourself too. But think about, have you been practicing identifying and filling your real needs? And if you don't do that, why not? What keeps you from doing that? Has it just never occurred to you? Have you heard it before, but you haven't put it into practice? And here's one more thing for you to reflect on. Our body is smart. It's wise. It alerts us to our needs. Just like, when we're tired, it lets us know, right? How else? Think of other ways that your body is wise, that your body is smart. Make a list. Start listening to how your body sends you signals, And lastly, remember, as I always say, you're not alone in this. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to isolate. Every step you take in recognizing and responding to your real needs is another step towards your food freedom. Keep going and keep growing, and I'll see you in the next episode.